The Toronto Raptors' 2024 rookie class is shaping up to be something special, and a big reason why is because of the great play to start the season from 31st overall pick Jonathan Mogbo. So in today's video, we break down what has really been so impressive about his start to his rookie season. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Amateur Sports, the YouTube channel dedicated to Toronto Raptors content in videos and streams. So if you enjoyed this video along the way, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content just like it, helping us on the road to 18,000 subscribers. But today, it's all about recent 31st overall pick Jonathan Mogbo, who was selected by the Raptors in the 2024 NBA entry draft. And this 31st overall pick compared to previous years was a much more grand occasion, if you will. There was a much bigger microscope on this pick than in previous years because for the first time, the NBA decided that the first and second round of the NBA draft would be held on separate days, where typically the first round of the NBA draft was very quickly preceded by the second round of the draft, where maybe the NBA decided they wanted to prolong the festivities for marketing, for advertisements, TV deals, or maybe they just didn't want to draw out the whole process in just one day. Whatever the reason was behind the NBA switching the draft to 2 separate days, the Raptors were benefactors of that because as holders of the 31st overall pick, they were presented a unique position where they had a full day to prepare who they wanted to select in that position. And as a result, there was a much bigger microscope on that selection there where the Raptors ended up taking Jonathan Mogbo, a 6'7" center slash forward with a 7'2" wingspan, good athleticism. It's your prototypical draft pick under Masai Ujiri's front office, a raw prospect who has great athleticism and great length that they want to work with and develop. And certainly from seeing Jonathan Mogbo in his preseason, in a little bit of briefly what we saw in Summer League despite the injuries that he had, and so far in the early stage of the season, Jonathan Mogbo to me gave the first impression as a player who again was raw, needed time to develop, and likely was going to be spending some time with the Raptors 905 in the G League. But the way he has played to start the season, it does not look like that is going to be the case anymore. When he was selected 31st overall, it was met with some criticism by parts of the Raptors fan base who were looking in other directions. I'll be honest, myself, I was looking in other directions. Mogbo was on my radar, just not really quite at 31st overall. I probably had some preferences for some other players. One of those players was not going to be Kyle Filipowski, who a lot of the Raptors fan base seemed infatuated with. I did not share that infatuation, to be honest. Kind of felt like Filipowski was just a known player because he played for Duke, but to me, I thought that it was worth passing on because he lacked the athleticism to play in the position, which Jonathan Mogbo certainly does not. And when he was selected 31st overall, I was intrigued by the pick. Not upset by the pick, not at all, but I was intrigued by the pick because I saw what the Raptors were seeing as a developmental project. Well, the development is happening a lot quicker than we expected because out the gates of the NBA season, he's been very impressive and putting himself on a lot of different teams' radars as well. My concerns from Mogbo from preseason and even the first game of the NBA season and why I thought he was going to be more of a developmental project, somebody who needed to spend some time in the G League, rather than my position now after 8 games where I feel like this is going to be a pretty important rotation player over the course of the season, was because it didn't feel like he was super assured of himself as an offensive player. And maybe part of that still remains for him, but there's so many other great qualities that he's showcasing right now that even in, 20 minutes per game or less that he's getting right now, he can still be impactful. On the offensive end of the floor, he brings a ton of energy and brings a ton of athleticism. He's a good playmaker, is a really good link player on the perimeter when the Raptors are trying to construct their offensive possessions, and when he has to at the rim, he can finish pretty well. It also pays that he's shooting the ball extremely well from the free throw line to start the season, so when he does get fouled there, he can make up some of those points to the line. Where the issues were stemming from on offense is when he's kind of attacking the rim in space. He just needs to develop some sort of go-to move to score more easily, whether that's going to be a push shot in close, whether it's going to be a floater in close, whether it's going to be a jump shot, whatever it may be, needs to have some sort of go-to move that he can confidently bring up when he has some space in the paint to get more of those easy twos. But again, that's something that certainly seems like it can come for the player, where potentially he has been more impressive and where the Raptors were maybe more so looking at him and looking to improve upon when they saw him at 31st overall of the NBA draft was his defensive game, which has been great to start this season. He's moving his feet pretty well. He's defending the rim pretty well. And when the Raptors need it, they are getting great minutes from him as a backup center, which was very much needed. The Raptors started this season without really a backup for Jakob Poeltl. They tried Bruno Fernando in that spot. It's pretty clear and pretty evident Bruno Fernando is not an NBA caliber player. So Jonathan Mogbo is picking up the pieces there. And honestly, for a guy who's listed at 6'7", he certainly doesn't look like it. Honestly, I feel like he's more like 6'9". Hopefully some more official updated measurements are on the way for the player. But the athleticism and the wingspan is super disruptive. And for a player who previously was a point guard and went through a late growth spurt and now is playing this different role, he does showcase still some of those tendencies as a ball handler. So if there's a transition opportunity, he can certainly take the ball in his hands and move in space. I likened him a lot before the draft to Precious Achiuwa, which can obviously pinch a nerve when it comes to Raptors fans and what we saw with Precious Achiuwa in the latter stages of his career with the Toronto Raptors. But even though there are some Precious-like tendencies within him, this is the type of player the Raptors wanted. Somebody who could be a super switchable defender with a long wingspan, who could handle the ball in space. And if the decision-making shored up for Precious Achiuwa, there was a decent player there. It was just the decision-making that needed to sharpen up more consistently. I'm not saying Mogbo is perfect in that endeavor and in that regard, but there is a lot of promise here. I saw a lot of promise from the player even when there was some erratic moments on offense, and maybe still some of them exist, but there were quite a few of them in preseason and in the very, very early stages of this still very young season. But he is finding his footing and becoming a lot more comfortable very quickly. A lot of times where a young NBA player or a rookie, where things just snap into place is when the game starts to slow down. Because early on, it's erratic, as I said. I think that's the best word to describe it. It's erratic. It's all very high-paced, very fast, quite jarring, and a huge juxtaposition to the style of basketball you were playing in college. Well, even after 8 games, it's certainly starting to feel like the game is slowing down for Mogbo, and he's becoming a lot smarter with his decision-making and a lot more assured of himself and confident of himself as a basketball player. And that is an extremely welcome sight to see. There's still things that need to be worked on, of course. We talked about the go-to move essentially on offense, but there's the fouling, that he fouls a little bit too often. But these are things that you can understand for a rookie player. And the only thing that I'm really upset about with him and the way he started this season is that I'm going to be covering the Raptors 905 in a pretty large capacity, it seems, this season. May or may not have media credentials, posting some exclusive content on the new Amateur 905 channel. The only thing I'm going to be upset about is the fact that I don't get to watch Jonathan Mogbo firsthand in those games, because I think he's going to play too good for the Raptors, too well for the Raptors right now to be put in the G League, and the Raptors will need him to continue to put up these levels of performances in the NBA. So we'll just have to see if they do sustain. But in the comment section down below, let me know what you think of Jonathan Mogbo's play to start the season, because that is it for today's video. Drop a like if you did enjoy. Make sure you subscribe to Amateur Sports for more Raptors content, and keep a lookout. Merch should be arriving very, very soon. Stay tuned for more information.